Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Neeru Tandon, Associate Professor, Department of English, VSST College, Kanpur. We are discussing third paper, 19th Century English Literature. This is Module 28, Thomas de Quincey, and it is written by Dr. Anshul Chandra. In this module, we are discussing 4 important poems of Thomas de Quincey. Now, by the end of the lesson, students should be able to understand who is Thomas de Quincey, what are the themes of his writing, what is the Suspiria de Profundis, and autobiographical impressions in his essays. As far as biographical facts are concerned, date of birth 15th August 1785, and the place is Manchester, England. His father was known as Thomas Quincey and mother Elizabeth Pension. His wife Margaret Simpson, and they had 5 sons and 3 daughters. He died on 8th December 1859. He received his education at schools in Bath and Wingfield. At age of 10, he was sent to grammar school. He ran away from Manchester Grammar School, and after returning home, enrolled at Oxford but left without completing his degree over there. His literary career is also very interesting. He started a job as an editor of Westmoreland Gazette, a Tory newspaper, in 1818. Charles Lamb, the great writer, prince of English essays, introduced him to London's journalistic circles. He was invited to write for London Magazine, where Charles Lamb was a regular writer. In 1821, the first half of Confessions of an English Opium Eater appeared, which really made him a successful and established writer. The major themes of his writings are Britain's imperial conflicts in Asia and Northern Africa. He wrote about criminal violence. He wrote about philosophy, theological history, confession, internal struggle with one's self, and autobiographical descriptions. Suspiria de Profundis, that is an important work by Thomas de Quincey. It is a collection of short essays. It was published in 1845 and it was regarded as a sequel of Confessions of an English Opium Eater, which was published in 1821. In fact, Suspiria de Profundis is a Latin phrase which means sighs from the depths. It was considered as the supreme prose fantasy of English literature. Theme of the essays is confessions. Thomas de Quincey focuses on the spiritual effects of the suffering and agony as it develops the spirit of man. Suspiria was incomplete in its original publication. Later on, he got it completed. After de Quincey's death, among his paper list of 32 items was discovered as the complete Suspiria. Another important work by Quincey is Dreaming. Introduction of the whole work Suspiria de Profundis, and de Quincey foregrounds the importance of dreams and their potentiality. He describes the power of dreaming. He said, I quote from him, "The machinery for dreaming planted in the human brain was not planted for nothing. It throws dark reflections from eternities below all life upon the mirrors of the sleeping mind." So, in this work, the power of dreaming enhances the potential of human mind. It was emphasized by Quincey. It is a way of finding hidden truth within him that would normally be repressed. It is self-explanatory instrument. The work that really made him famous was the Palemset and Human Brain. Palimpsest is derived from the Latin word palimpsests, which means a parchment of other writing surface on which the original text has been effaced or partially erased and then overwritten by another. A manuscript in which later writing has been superimposed on earlier effaced writing, This was the definition given by Oxford Dictionary. The palimpsest is considered as a metaphor. In the Middle Ages, these parchments were created from vellum, which can be recycled. Traces of writing disappears from the sheet, but actually it leaves its marks permanently. In the same way as in our mind, the past is never erased. It has remained there in the memory. What Thomas de Quincey said, I'll quote his lines. He said, "If once a man indulges himself in murder, very soon he comes to think little of robbing, and from robbing he comes next to drinking and Sabbath breaking, and from that to incivility and procrastination." Unquote. He compares the human mind to a palimpsest. He writes, "The mind is but a palimpsest of human brain, where everlasting layers of ideas have fallen upon your brain softly as light. They are not dead, but sleeping. There is none of passion or disease that can scorch away these immortal impulses." Unquote. Again, De Quincey writes, I quote, "Yes, reader, countless are the mysterious handwritings of grief or joy which have inscribed themselves successively upon the palimpsest of your brain. They are not dead, but sleeping. Human mind also recalls our past memories. It shapes his adult life. Quincey would never escape from the pain of childhood and his sister's death." Now you see, in this particular work, what De Quincey again and again just emphasizing that dreams are there, memories are there, they cannot be erased. If they are not conscious, they are there in the unconscious level. Those memories are part of your life. Because of those memories, you grow. Another work that we are going to discuss by De Quincey is Levana and Our Ladies of Sorrow. Levana, the ancient Roman goddess who oversaw the birth and education of children. The word Levana is derived from the Latin verb, as is still the Italian verb, levare. He saw in his dream that Levana is communicating with 3 other ladies, and those are sisters, Our Ladies of Sorrow. The eldest of the 3 is named Mater Lacrimarum, Our Lady of Tears. She is the mother of lamentation. The second sister is Mater Suspirium, Our Lady of Sighs, and the third sister is Mater Tenebrarum, Our Lady of Darkness. Now, Memorial Suspiria, De Quincey recalls life's miseries, foreshadowing and anticipation. He sees past as the mirror. The past viewed not as the past, but by a spectator who steps back 10 years deeper into the rear in order that he may regard it as a future. Unquote. He describes death of his sister Elizabeth and problems of his life in this essay. That is why we call it partially autobiographical. The problem and the pain of his sister's death could never be erased. He was always there with his past, recalling and forgetting, forgetting and recalling, but it was always there. According to him, all the experience of past is simply not an event, but it is actually effective in our present. He describes, I quote, "Death we can face, but knowing, as some of us do, what is human life, which of us is it that without shuddering could face the hour of birth, unquote. Now, some critics have commented upon De Quincey and his works. I quote Menequez, who wrote in 1976, De Quincey's quest for self-substantiation but historicizes this quest, finding in it both a public and a private struggle against disorder and discontinuity, unquote. Miller and Baxter, they said, the totality of De Quincey's writings as an autobiography but shows less interest in them as expressions of consciousness than as texts conditioned by the exigencies of the press, unquote. So in this module, till now we have gone through the major works of Thomas De Quincey. We have known his personality, about the writer, his literary work. To sum up, in detail, I will again tell you about the important points. First of all, let me talk about Suspiria de Profundis. We know that it is a collection of short essays published in 1845 and a sequel of Confession of an English Opium Eater. It is considered as the supreme prose fantasy of English literature. The theme of the essay is confessions. Quincey focuses on the spiritual effects of the suffering and agony as it develops the spirit of man. Quincey was very much attached to his elder sister Elizabeth, and that's why he describes her death memories, hallucinations, and dream vision in this autobiographical work. Now another, that is dreaming. We know that it is the introduction of the whole work of Suspiria de Profundis. And in this work, Dreaming, De Quincey answers some of our questions too. De Quincey foregrounds the importance of dreams and their potentiality. He describes the power of dreaming. I quote, "The machinery for dreaming planted in the human brain was not planted for nothing. That faculty in alliance with the mystery of darkness is the one great tube through which man communicates with the shadow. And the dreaming organ, in connection with the heart, the eye, the ear, compose the magnificent apparatus which forces the infinite into the chamber of the human brain and throws dark reflections from eternities below all life upon the mirrors of the sleeping mind." Unquote. Now you see what Quincey wants to tell us. Quincey wants to tell us that dreaming is not created by us. It is in our scheme, and it is very, very important. We should consider its importance. Dreams are like realm of enlightenment. They are the key to understand reality. It gives human being a world, a different kind of world where they may live in harmony with nature and their childhood. They can dream of childhood, they can dream of good things. The power of dreaming enhances the potential of human mind as it merges with the infinite. It is a way of finding hidden truth that would normally be repressed. So it is the exploratory instrument. So this definition of dream is a unique that is given by Thomas De Quincey, and most of the people, they do agree with it. Another one that we had discussed, I will sum up, that is the Palemset and human brain. Again, in a philosophical way, Quincey considers Palemset as a metaphor. In opening lines, De Quincey addresses the masculine reader, but later he shifts his attention to female reader as well. And he understands and tries to mention both of them. Human mind also recalls our past memories, and Quincey describes through this essay that the incidents of childhood may haunt a person. It shapes his adult life, and that affects his future as well. Next is the Levana and Our Ladies of Sorrow. Of all the essays of De Quincey, Levana and Our Ladies of Sorrow is most admired one. Leon says, I quote, "The whole of this vision is clothed in a prose so stately, intense and musical that it has been regarded by some as the supreme achievement of De Quincey's genius, the most original thing he ever wrote." Unquote. The essay starts with the description of Levana, the ancient Roman goddess who oversaw the birth and education of children. As a child, De Quincey had to suffer lots of pain. He explains his grief and also says that his personal experience is not unique. Many people experience the same thing, but the uniqueness is there in the expression, the way De Quincey explains that. In next stanza, he says that often he saw in his dream that Levana is communicating with three sisters, Our Ladies of Sorrow. Three sisters they are of one mysterious household, and their paths are wide apart. But of their dominion there is no end. Them I saw often conversing with Levana, and sometimes about myself. Unquote. So you can see that the autobiographical element is also there, and he considers all these three sisters and Levana's conversation in his regard as well. Memorial Suspiria. In this essay, De Quincey recalls life's miseries, foreshadowing and anticipation. In the opening lines of the essays, he remembers his bitter experience because we all know that his child life was not very good. He lived on the streets of London in poverty and hunger. He suffered a lot, and there was a 15-year-old prostitute who helped her. He could never forget her. So he mentioned her as well. Later in life, he often saw her in his dreams and called her Anne of Oxford Street. He sees past as the mirror. Now, I will just end with the comments of the critics about De Quincey and his work. According to Elena Kles, De Quincey was in many ways a replica of Coleridge. What De Quincey seems to have most closely imitated was Coleridge's style of life. The mysterious doomed nature of the ancient mariner whose curse is to proclaim his failure. Opium visions were De Quincey's best way of achieving this dark sublimity. Unquote. So we have just seen and enjoyed De Quincey's writing. They are beneficial for us as well as they answer some of our questions. For further, you can just consult the text, e-text that is available on EPG Pathshala. Thank you.